We're live. We done it. We're on the internet, Albert.
Cool.
So this is episode 3. Welcome everyone to Blanket Terms World Building Stream with Albert and Alan. My name's Alan, and this is.
This is Albert.
Oh man, really tough week this week. Man, like spring break. We had spring break, and I went home for the week, and it was crazy. I drove like probably like 5,000 miles. Oh wait, how does the song go? Is it 500 miles? I just drove a lot of driving.
Yeah? I don't know, man.
All right. So last week we talked about gods and stuff.
Yes. We're gonna continue to do that, I think.
It's because it's a really good foundation for a lot of fantasy building worlds. So we kind of had to turn this into a two-parter because we weren't able to get through your stuff and we weren't able to get through all of my stuff. But in general, what we talked about was essentially it's a touchy subject. To make sure everyone's okay with, how your world's building, how you're going to integrate it into your world and stuff like that. So for Albert, you worked on the Shackled Gods and I think this is not right, but you said the Vigilant Gods.
The Vigils.
The Vigils. Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are like the like good and evil gods for your world of Vathan.
Mm-hmm.
Any updates on that, or is that just what we did last week?
Yeah, I don't really have any updates on it. I haven't really had a chance to work on it.
All right then. And last week we worked on the history of the Divine Shard within Vessel, my homebrew world, which kind of were working more a bit on the history aspect of it rather than the actual like properties of the Divine Shard. Yeah. And I think for yours we just kind of touched on like the domains plus like a couple of like buzzword stuff. I can't remember.
Yeah, so what we did specifically is we focused on it was let me double check. We focused on oh wait, what the hell? Why isn't Oh, there it is. We focused on followers, beliefs, and practices.
Okay. Followers, beliefs,
And we just focused on those specific things.
Uh-huh.
And just sort of made I figured out just short, like 1 or 2 sentence descriptions for each of those. We can look over those again.
Yeah, and mine was basically how the influence of the Divine Shard influenced history and just development within Vessel. So that's the reason why history was really, really informative on mine. Updates to that, I literally had no time to work on anything. I did kind of flesh out a few things in my brain space, but nothing really tangible. So kind of how to work on getting that out on paper today. So today's topic again is just we're gonna work on superior powers in fantasy worlds, part 2, because we didn't finish all of it.
We didn't finish.
Yeah. It's like an hour. Like we work on it for like what 2 hours? Like every time we do this.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour stream.
Yeah, because we stream for 3 hours, but a lot of that's like some of that's breaks and us doing the intro stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a two-parter because we couldn't get all the typing done in that amount of time. So I guess we'll just open up a couple questions I had. Not like we didn't really get a chance to think about this too much, but how to make gods interesting on like other systems and other people's world building spaces. How do you work to make gods interesting? Like,
we touched on this last week, but what I always find interesting in pantheons is that regardless of like whether or not the gods are considered evil or good, they always serve a purpose that is still constructive to society as a whole.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the big thing that I'd like to include to give these gods like more flavor and make them more interesting, because it's an interesting idea to have these negative entities to have these negative entities provide a positive aspect to society, and also the other way around, right?
Yeah.
As Octavio was mentioning, like it's also important that good gods have that are overall positive influence on the world around them have a negative influence on the people who follow them. So
Uh-huh.
just having that mix of both makes them more interesting, and also leads to more character options for the people who are actually following those religions.
Yeah, and it also, I think a lot of players, especially newer ones, they like attach themselves to like buzzwords and like certain things about certain gods to help
Hmm.
like direct themselves to how their character is. And I think that that's a good mechanic in a lot of systems. But personally, I don't. I kind of lean away from the pantheon aspect of it, and I
Hmm.
kind of lead more into the like uses in the world. So like how the
Yeah.
churches, like what they do, and how the system is actually in place. And a lot of times this can lead to a lot of like weird, nuanced like rivalries between the within one like church. And
Hmm.
I like to take that approach to it, more of a humanistic approach to it rather than a I guess clerical approach to it
Yeah.
to the god system. And
Hmm.
one thing that I found, especially when I'm working with pantheons that other people built, is sometimes some people can make the most like intricate, complicated system there is in the world, but if you start adding too much the fluff, your player's eye just glaze over. They're like, "What? I have to
Hmm.
do the I have to do the ritual with like what?" So sometimes you kind of have to restrain that, and especially when you're world building, sometimes yeah, it's nice to have a whole in-depth system, but you kind of have to skirt that line.
Hmm.
Integration into the world. Uh, yeah, and I kind of had to dig real deep in my 5 minutes of prep for these questions. So, um,
So yeah, what do you mean specifically by integration? Just like how
I
they
guess
influence the world, or how people worship them?
yeah, I guess all of those can be true. Mainly, kind of the direction I was thinking about was when you introduce gods into your world, how do you introduce them to characters? Is it like, uh, yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah, I see.
yeah, because I know a lot of systems they really hinge on the whole aspect of like the gods have tangible influence in the world and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
one of my favorite podcasts, God's Fall, the whole thing is literally about the gods being resurrected, and like the players are the gods. So like
Mhm.
in some situations it's like that, but especially like in Vathan where you were talking about how the gods are like tiered and they have influences in the stars. Like
Mhm.
how
Yeah, that's actually an interesting problem, one that I don't quite know the solution to myself.
mhm,
Cause it a lot of the times, like because you aren't like delivering like a book or like a short story, you have to kind of gauge how interested your characters are,
hmm,
and hmm, I think what helps is having some sort of story revolving around the deities, because Don's campaign actually did a really good job of like keeping it interesting because they're tied so closely to the story we're playing within.
yeah.
But I mean, you don't always have that kind of campaign and aren't always interested in telling that kind of story. So uh, a lot of the times you end up having, a lot of the times I think you kind of end up having to find incidental ways to introduce them. So a good way to introduce these entities in a campaign or a story is to not really talk about the entities themselves, but rather the people that worship them and the people around them.
Hmm.
And by doing that, you can kind of deliver like the ideas and practices of those entities without having to outright explain to your players uh, for other people who are just like consuming your creative content.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it kind of sounds like
yeah.
what you're saying is the writing principle of show don't tell. Kind of like
Yeah, I mean, like there are times where you do in fact want to tell people, but I think a lot of the times for entities, like for religions and godlike entities in specific, you don't always have to do that.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, for me, the integration into the world, I think the main thing I do, just because in the last, I think, 3 years, because I think so many of people in my friend group have taken over the mantle of DMing, I can't really say what my integration style is, but in my world building style, most definitely, I like to look at the way religion influences social change and like the way it builds the world, the way it like gives you an insight to how a world is in terms of its progression over
Hmm.
time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that kind of leads me into my second question. I put in here Deuce Volt just because that's kind of been a meme recently about like the crusade, and but that kind of gives a bit of insight into how impactful religion can be in certain worlds and how its fanatic uses, however atrocious they may be, are things that influence world on like a grand scale. So what's your take about fanatic uses of religions in D&D in like fantasy worlds? Because personally, I always like skirt the topic. I don't really like.
I I don't like to do it
Yeah.
because for me specifically, the way that I like to write and the stories that I prefer to tell, I prefer to tell stories about a world that's better than ours because our
Hmm.
world sucks. And I don't.
Yes.
I personally just storytelling and reading and RPGs in general is escapism. So
Yeah.
I prefer to write in that kind of vein. Uh, but if that's something people want to do, then that's fine. I think there's good exploration to be done there about why people do those kind of things and how those kind of actions can be prevented.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think an important thing to do is to focus on how that's not a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Most
I think
definitely.
that's really important.
Yeah, in a lot of these systems, there are gods. Especially, I think the trend is like gods of justice. They become like they become like tyrants, and they become like this like single-minded thing. And oftentimes, those sort of religious practices lead to crusades and the like. And in general, I think that it's could be a fantastic story point if that's the direction you want to go with a campaign. But in general, personally, like I said, I look at the way religion affects the history of a world, and because of
Mhm.
its massive influence, I always like to consider how a certain religion, despite its how atrocious it may be, how it might influence a world. And sometimes, yeah, you're right, that does lead to these this idea that the world's bad and stuff like that. But I like to make breathing worlds that feel realistic to me,
Yeah.
and a lot of times that means looking at a lot of hard truths that we would prefer not to look at. And in a way, I think that for me, it's been therapeutic in a lot of ways, coming to terms
Hmm.
with my own perception of the world. And by writing about it and by building a world that has its pillars on those sort of ideals, actually kind of lend to a narrative of how we can get better and how, despite all of this, there is a direction that humanity can go in order to be better. And I think that's one of the ways that I like to use this concept of fanatic religious users in a RPG setting. And a lot of that can be contingent on like how you build the world, but I think a lot of it is human human nature based. That I think that I think that is a conversation that's kind of separate from religion in a lot of ways, but they're intertwined most definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So today's building agenda: more gods, essentially.
Continue on it. Finish up where you left off.
Yeah. So you for Vathanesh probably should put that there. let's just do. There we go.
I'm gonna actually turn on screen share here for you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and like sort of going back to that discussion about like, I think it's different styles of writing. I think
Yeah.
both ways of expressing yourself are valid.
Yeah.
Like personally, people in the worlds that I make don't care about race because I don't think people should.
Yeah.
And if I have the power to decide that people just don't, then I will exercise that power.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's just how I prefer to write.
yeah, and now that I think about it, I for some reason every time I DM, it's always about like an issue. Like I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember, there was a campaign I did for Alex and Dusk, and they were like essentially in the middle of like a race war between orcs and
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I mean it wasn't a race war, it was more of like a manifest destiny type thing where they were trying to take their land, and I was just like, it was just funny because I'm Native American and I kept on trying to push that agenda, and Dusk was just like, but what was interesting about it was that because me and Alex are both natives, so
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
so Dusk was just confused. um, and then for Vessel, I think today I'm gonna work more about the shard. I'm gonna talk more
Mhm.
about it and get kind of touch base on what I did, and then from there build more. I kind of want to touch more on the factions because I mentioned two of them specifically that were kind of interesting to me. So then I'm going to talk more about that, and then I'm also going to probably touch on the magic that the shard is, like what it gives to people, because in my world the shard is where all magic comes from, so I think I'll touch on that a bit more. So let me just switch over to black screen real quick so that I can get your thing up.
Mhm. You know what? If I move this closer to my other monitor, it'll be more likely that I see it when things pop up in chat.
You think you can up your quality?
No, it's as high as it goes.
Really?
Yep.
That's very unfortunate. All right, we're back on.
Also, I don't want to run into a data limit, which is why I don't. Yeah, I have to be careful about not hitting data limits
Wait, what about data limits?
because my internet provider has like a 1 terabyte data limit, and if I hit that, they start charging extra. They charge
Huh?
quite a bit. It's
Interesting.
dumb. It's really dumb. Actually, yours should too,
That's
unless.
no, I don't think there's anything like that. By the way, your screen's up. Just
Yeah, I know. You
oops.
have Cox, right?
No, I have CenturyLink.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. CenturyLink has something similar too, but it's a little bit more flexible. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I mean,
so
I don't know anything about that.
last week, uh this is sort of what we did. So we have the full pantheon. It's sort of like a Greek Roman style pantheon
You're moving it
focused
too
pretty
much.
that's focused very heavily on astrology. So
Yeah.
each of these gods has a constellation in the night sky that represents them,
Wait,
and by
weren't you like a astrology major or something at once upon a
astronomy.
time? Astronomy? Yeah.
I took like an astronomy class,
Oh.
and then I decided to drop the minor because I didn't have the time. I didn't have enough free class spaces to finish it, so I dropped it pretty quickly.
Hmm.
I took a class in it, which was cool.
Yeah.
So by observing the stars in the night sky, you can observe the actual actions of these entities within their realm.
Yeah.
So
And we worked on the astral shackles, which are the shackled gods, and then the
yeah, so
vigils.
so the Astral Shackles forms the peak of the night sky and is a southern compass, but are also binds the four primary evil gods together. You have the vigils that lie directly around them and um, constantly watch over them, and then you have the Astrologica, which are your calendar. They're your calendar constellations,
Oh,
so
cool.
they rotate. Yeah, so there's always going to be one that is going to be in the night sky the longest out of all of them, and so the months are named after them because of that.
Cool.
Uh, sort of in the mythos, the idea is that um, these are actors that are either aligned with or against the vigils or the shackles, like either
Uh,
one, and so they will get close and come in to try to influence them and uh, try to upset that balance, but then someone else will come in and stop them, and because of that, it continuously rotates around them, and that's how the calendar works.
mm. And it does
And
look like,
then
yeah, it does look pretty fascinating because I was reading the like descriptors of a lot of them, and it looks like they're all based off of like the seasons. Because then we got
yeah,
like the angel healing, the or
I
hold
believe
on.
that yellow was summer. Yeah, yellow is summer, orange is autumn, winter, and spring.
Cool. And the vagrant gods. Now that you've kind of enlightened me to the whole star thing, it feels like the vagrant gods are like planets, right? They kind of just like
Yep,
come in and out like randomly.
yep, exactly. They are, um, yeah,
Hmm.
they're represented by planets and other astral entities. So I mean,
Yeah, sun,
the
moon.
sun, and then there are five other planets that are in fact planets,
Cool.
and are also entities,
All
also
right.
projections of
So we're gonna
godlike
work on these
entities.
two, right? The astrological and the vagrants
Yeah, so we did the last two
last week.
last week. So we'll work
Yeah.
on what we haven't done. And we'll sort of just go over what we did for them briefly. So as I
Yeah.
mentioned before, we did followers, beliefs, and practices.
Yeah.
And short little descriptions of each. Um for the sake of just being able to better describe how these entities influence the world directly or indirectly, more specifically.
Mm.
And without getting too heavily bogged down in the details so that we can just sort of flesh that out later. Same thing for the vigils, and we're gonna do that for the astrologica. So let's start. Kata,
Angel of Harvest.
followers, beliefs,
So it looks like you had a
practices.
angel, a demon, and a titan for every season.
Yep. And sort of the reason I did that is because I kind of wanted to I wanted to words. I wanted to be able to distinguish them so that it was clear that these were lesser entities compared to the others. Yeah, I see you in chat. Oh, are you testing the overlay?
Hmm. Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
trying to.
testing the chat
Yeah,
overlay?
I'm trying to.
Huh, weird.
I can't see the chat. I don't know why.
Oh, that is weird. Hmm.
Don't
It
know
should be
what's
like it's
up.
the same. If it's the same link as last week, it should work unless it changed for some reason.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was wondering because when I realized on your screen that there was you could see it, but on mine I was like, wait, there's
Oh,
nothing
really?
happening. Yeah.
Huh, weird. All right, so followers. I'm gonna do farmers, farmers and captains. Beliefs. Hmm.
I mean, you got the Angel of Harvest. Obviously, life is important.
Yeah. But the important thing is we need to distinguish it from Thurian.
No, the
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
I'd imagine. I don't. I'd imagine that this person wouldn't really like them. What's it called? Pesticides.
Yeah. Here Hmm. Nature.
Well, it's of harvest, right? So like,
Yeah. So I've.
isn't it more like civilization oriented rather than raw nature?
I think so.
So I think the word cultivation is something you're looking for rather than
Hmm.
nature.
So the natural world exists to serve those living on it. Its resources are the right of all people. Its resources are the right of all people. Yeah, I think that's about. So yeah, I think that's about all we need to say about that. So the idea is that the the idea is that the natural world is there to provide for people, uh, and so everyone should be able to access those resources because it was created for them. So I like that. Practices. Farmers. Follow Crucificata. Well, um, natural resources, um, with more abundance. Great zeal, often resulting in more abundant harvests, but may may also um, cause permanent damage. May also cause permanent damage. Druids. Uh,
Oh, so they're all about milking that efficiency rather than making it sustainable.
yeah. Well, sometimes depends on the people. I think that's
Uh,
sort of what I was going for with that. Druids will act as I don't want to say distributors.
Dealers,
No, that's also worse.
middleman,
Druids act to ensure that
mules.
all people are able to gather and hunt within their uh, within their domains. Okay.
Cool. Now we got a daemon.
Demon of Pestilence.
What's that? Baven?
Followers, beliefs,
Is that pronounced Baven?
Baven, yeah.
Hmm.
Not the greatest name. I'm pretty bad at names, it turns out.
I mean, it actually sounds okay. I mean, it's just no. There's the great and powerful Matthew Mercer once named someone Pervon. So I think you're cool.
I actually missed this week's episode. I have to watch it on
Oh,
Monday.
it was so weird. Despite everything
it?
that happened, I was free just for Critical Role. like everything happened, and when I sent you that message, when was it, yesterday? No, Thursday. I sent you that message Thursday. I was like, hey, I'm back in town. Anyone want to do anything? No one responded, so I'm like, okay. So I had like an hour, and then Critical Role started, and I'm like, cool. And I watched it, and then it ended at midnight, and then I got the go ahead, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I took off back home, and
Oh my
so
god.
I literally was just home for Critical Role, and that's it. It was crazy. All right, so Baven.
So followers, doctors. That's about it.
Ooh, what about them?
How do you spell disease?
Just do your best. Then everyone will laugh on you, laugh at you. Anyone in chat have that squiggly emote?
I need to do that.
I know.
Disease is a natural part of life and death, and is an engine in which
The weaker cold.
it's a mechanism which filters the able-bodied. Filters the stronger elements of life, which selects
Why isn't my chat working?
followers of Baven are dedicated to the study and knowledge of disease.
Oh,
And
did Dawn not stream yesterday?
No, she didn't.
Oh,
I didn't. I actually kind of forgot to ask about it. I didn't even notice.
Oh man.
That's fine. I'll double check with her today.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I should probably shoot her a text to see if she wants to record anything today.
Yeah, we should do something. We definitely need to do Cuphead soon.
Yeah.
There needs to be time to edit it.
Speaking of Cuphead, shouldn't there be a new episode out today?
Oh yeah, there should be.
I'll check. You continue writing.
Sure.
Make this riveting content for all of our viewers.
So followers have been dedicated to the study and knowledge of disease and how they spread. As such, their followers are more knowledgeable. The subject than the average person.
They're smarter than the average bear.
I'm more knowledgeable on the subject than the average person, and are experienced both with their education and their treatment.
Yep.
That's not the word. Continuing on. Leonid. All its beliefs, practices, innkeepers. Innkeepers. What do you call someone who owns a bar?
Bar, well, just business person, a businessman, I guess. That's. Oh, this is the Reveler, right?
No, this is Leonid.
Angel of Rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could just put like host.
Host.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, host. That kind of works.
Yeah.
Oh, moms. Or no, grandmas. Yeah, just put in there grandmas.
Grandmoms?
Yeah.
Sure.
You ever go to your grandma's place and you look tired as shit and then she's just like, go to sleep. Just go to sleep.
uh, uh, cycles are a central part of life without which the world and people would cease to function. Many taverns and inns
Oh, that was in a group chat. Totes forgot that you were on the other end of it.
are dedicated to providing safe and comfortable places of rest.
Come on, stupid thumb. Type right.
And
Okay. Texas
as a symbol of safety.
There has to be a doctor that looks at like circadian rhythms and stuff. There has to
Yeah.
be, right?
There could be.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually don't know what else there is. That.
all right, let's move on then.
Yeah, I'll just move right along.
Move right along.
Raisin the hunt, Titan of the hunt.
Ooh.
Always hunches.
Rangers.
Sure.
He's one of them Rangers. Beliefs. Hunting is a natural part of life. The relationship between predator and prey is a natural.
It's a natural part of life and is important to the growth of both society.
Whoa, Albert, you use military time on your computer?
Yeah, of course. It's the better way to express time.
Yeah, I use military time like with everything too, except for my computer.
Yeah, you can do that.
I know, like you've been to my place. I have a clock that's on military time. My phone's on military time, and I just noticed your thing's on military time.
Yeah. I actually don't do it on my phone. I could do it on my phone.
How do you? I don't want to have to stop the screen, but how can I? Oh, no. Okay.
That's fine.
No, it's fine. Okay. I got this.
Additional time and regional settings?
No, I'm gonna take time to do this. Albert, stop what you're doing. Just real quick. Gotta get my. Where is it?
I'm
Time
glad
formats.
I've derailed you on this.
Sure. How do you? Albert, where is it? Show me, damn it. I can't. How to?
Change. So you go to region, change date, time, and number format.
Is it? Oh, I see.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. All right, cool. Got that fixed. All right, now we can get back on.
Ugh, that was gross. All right, practices.
It was super important to me. All right, now we're on still on Raisin practices. Ooh, can this be the sort of person that like his practices got bastardized so much in the modern world that they have events like chicken pulling in order to like represent him?
Chicken pulling.
You don't know what chicken pulling is?
No, what the
So
hell
you-
is chicken
So
pulling?
you race on a horse.
What?
You race on a horse and you have to like reach down as far as you can and you have to pick up the chicken. No, no,
That
it's like a horse race. No, these are
none
all
of these.
these are all not the right things. It's like okay, so it's you ride on a horse. Most of the time you have to do it bareback, but you race on the horse as fast as you can. You have to race all the way down to the other side where there's supposed to be wild chickens just like running in the racing track. You're supposed to as you're running past, you're supposed to grab a chicken by the neck and then grab it and then get to the finish line. The only way you can win is if you get to the finish line and you have a chicken.
So, how do you what determines the winner? Who does it first, or who
Yeah.
gets the biggest chicken?
Oh, no, whoever gets there first with the chicken.
Okay.
But the whole point is that the whole sport came about like this. Because people used to actually race after like quail and shit on horseback to actually get them. But then nowadays they just do it for shits and giggles. Chicken. How is that not a thing? Now I gotta do my own research on this side. You keep doing what you do. Why is that just a res thing?
I don't know, man. Alright. Terran Demon of Entropy. This is a fun one.
Who is this one?
Now we
Theron?
get to... Oh, God.
What?
I need to change the name because it's too similar to one of the other gods.
Gosh.
Need a name.
God of Entropy? It has to be the most evilest sounding name in the fucking world. Something along the lines of like, Mos Dragon or
I'm not spelling that.
or Tim.
Carl.
Carl, the demon of entropy. No, I'm not looking for ultimate chicken horse. Holy crap. It is a native thing. It's called the chicken pull. Yeah, I'm not crazy. It's just a native thing. It is a native.
You find the YouTube video?
I haven't found the YouTube video, but
this probably explains why none of I have no idea what you're talking about.
It is a native thing, cause like, why is there no videos? Keep going. If I find it, it'll be.
Level. That's a decent one.
Oh gosh. How is it not? How is there no video of this?
This sounds like something you do when you're incredibly bored.
No, it's an event. It's kind of like oh gosh. Okay.
Do that one last. And repeats the only true.
Is that literally the only reference to chicken pulling in this entire thing? I'm sorry, I was looking at it's like literally just a cowboy encyclopedia. It's baffling to me how you don't know what chicken pulling is. You know, now that I think about it, it's probably not something that I think that would be on YouTube because it's kind of gruesome. I mean, if done with actual chickens, they've kind of downgraded to using like little spikes, like little flagpoles.
Uh-huh. Followers of belief that none of their actions ultimately matter, and that nothing they can do
God,
will meaningfully.
Jesus, Albert, you okay?
Meaningfully accelerate the heat death of the universe.
Do they want to accelerate it? Is that the goal?
They do, but they understand that they can't. Look, if your belief is that, look, if you wanted to accelerate the heat death of the universe, something that'll take many billions of years, what are you gonna do about it? Blow up the. Uh, question marks.
I mean, you could like just put on there depressed people. Just
I like that actually. Amazing Titan of followers. Undertakers. Funeral priests. Leaves. Practices. Oh.
what?
I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I just saw a video because apparently they're cracking down on natives racing horses.
What?
Yeah, I know that's a
For
couple years
what?
ago.
What?
Yeah, that's a couple years ago.
Oh.
Man, if anyone comes from a place where horses are like a big thing, I guarantee people will have stories about, man, this one time I was over at this like horse race where like the horse race was literally just in someone's backyard. Like that happens all the time. I don't know why
Uh-huh.
they're trying to give it a big rat just because these people they have like whole stadiums set up for it and they like actually have like ambulances and things on site. I don't know why they're keep making such a big deal about it.
Whatever. Weird. Ugh. Ugh. Beliefs. Death is natural. Any
Everybody dies one.
subversion,
Everyone dies eventually.
death
Hey,
natural event is the transition into the afterlife. Any subversion of this must be
it's weird how they don't have any of that on.
followers of
Hmm,
this.
I'm sorry. I'm
Broken
distracted.
dots.
I'm not being a good. I'm not being a good host. Let me just recenter myself here. What are we doing now?
Will conduct rituals to ward off necromancy. Will conduct rituals to ward off necromancy and provide this service to societies around. Oh, no, it's okay. I'll do that later. Ugh. Mason is the guardian.
Everybody dies eventually. Why? Why stop the process?
The guardian of the afterlife. Carrying souls to it and keeping. Aladdin, the angel of peace. Diplomats. conflict is a purely destructive force, and progress
Ooh, I want to be a paladin
only
of
be
Kaladin.
made by can only be made through its absence.
Man,
Kaladin
why is there no good
uh,
horse racing videos on the internet?
will often serve as neutral diplomats to diffuse conflicts.
Man, as soon as
Yes.
you search watermelon, it comes up with that stupid
Features.
video with that lady and she has the watermelon slingshot thing, and it just like launches and it goes right back into her face. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know that video. As preachers who discourage
This one.
people from joining
Hold on.
those conflicts. Shannon,
I'm
are
sorry.
you watching it?
I was on the stream. It was on the stream for a couple seconds.
Demon of Famine. Follow his beliefs.
Oh, it looks so bad though. Man, kind of feeling nostalgic about horse racing now.
The control of resource is a much greater strength than that of arms. Than that of arms. There's much greater strength than that of arms. Or diplomacy. Followers, rich fucks.
I mean, you mean aristocrats?
Sure. Practices. Followers of Gal Canon will often hoard resources. And keep them for themselves as a means of expressing power.
Don was saying something about a 3-person playthrough.
Of?
I don't know. Up for debate.
Oh. Okay.
But that's
Sure.
a different topic. Continue. Keep going. We got so much to do. Let's not make this a 3-parter.
As a means of expressing power and influence. Good aspect of this.
I will make it my sole goal to distract Albert now. Now that I've said that. I mean,
sure, we'll just continue on.
Oh man, Albert, have you ever seen Navo horse racing?
No, not really.
I mean, Navo wild horse racing?
No, I've been to a rodeo like once.
It's crazy. So there's these 3-person teams, right? And there's one guy. I forget the exact titles of it. There's 3 people. There's one person who puts on the bridle. There's one person that holds the horse down, and then there's one person that rides. So the idea is that you get the big guy. The big guy ropes the. I mean, one of them
Mm-hmm.
ropes the horse, and then one person anchors, and the big guy goes up. He grabs the horse by the head. He holds the neck and the jaw, and he just like bends that horse's neck so hard that it just like can't move. Now that I think about it, it is actually pretty violent. But you're not really hurting it. You're just like holding it in place and stopping it from getting away. And then someone else comes up, puts a harness on it. Then the other person hops on. And then the idea is the first person to ride the horse for a solid minute actually wins. And you do this in like a giant arena full of wild horses. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Focus on healing any maladies, whether through medicine or magic.
Wait, in your world are there? And that's a whole nother topic, I think. Healing with magic and medicine.
What the distinction is,
Yeah,
how you do it.
yeah. And I know for
Uh,
me, magical healing always rubbed me the wrong way. Like,
yeah.
if you can heal with magic, then what's the point of medicine?
Mm-hmm. Uh. Okay. Moving on.
Whoa, Scream of Black. Oh, it's back.
Okay. Mastug, Titan of the Forge.
Titan of the Forge. Well, obviously it has to be a dwarf. Because that's apparently how all fantasy dwarf, fantasy,
I hate that.
yeah, all fantasy forge gods have to be.
Uh,
Actually, I think one of the most interesting ones I found that he was an automaton, right?
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was like a warforge patron god or whatever.
Beliefs.
I think that's like the coolest one I've seen, but I'm sure there are some interesting ways to do it.
Purist expression. I don't want to say humanity. Wrong word in this case. Sentience, I guess.
I like to use the word mortal kind. Or just mortals. Because that kind of encompasses like things that aren't human.
Yeah.
Or I use humanity and her sisters.
I'll say sentience and divinity. Practices. Followers will dedicate their crafts and products to Rasta as Rasta. His symbol often seen as a mark of quality. Amidst products in a market. Okay, moving on. Xanon, demon of poison. Followers, practices.
Wait, why do you have a god of poison as like a month? As like a
Why
month?
not? That's fine.
Is there a month where you poison people?
It's the summer, so like it's a time when things grow quite a lot, and many of those things aren't good for you. I know there's a word specifically for people who make poisons. person who makes poison.
Psychological profile.
Toxicologists. uh, toxicologists.
Assassins.
Maybe, yeah, sure. I'll add that in. Beliefs.
The world will fuck you up, so fuck it up first.
Poisons are the natural weapon and defense of nature, and a valuable tool that can be used. Xanadu dedicate themselves to the knowledge and use of various poisons. Some use this for nefarious means, but others study them and their uses as medicine. Uses as medicine. Followers. Carnivals. Carnivals hosts. Carnivals hosts. Just revelers in general.
Partiers. Aren't there? Wait, isn't there like a? There's like a whole occupation that deals with this. Like they like escort. Probably. I don't want to use the word escort because escort has negative connotations nowadays. But like, it's where you help like people get to know a town, like especially like for businessmen, like wealthy businessmen that are in town. You just kind of go around partying with them. Yeah, it's like a whole occupation. I don't know what it's called. I don't want to say escorts because it feels like it's been that word's been abused.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can just reappropriate it. Hashtag reappropriate escort. Escorts.
Beliefs. My throat is getting dry.
I think it is. Nope, never mind.
Celebration and revelry. Revelry.
I feel like there's a better way. People whose job it is to show people a good let's just see what happens.
Safe search off.
Yep, safe search. Hashtag safe search off. Nope. It just says apparently Steve Jobs is just one of the first things that comes up.
What?
Yeah, Steve Jobs is the first thing that comes up. See, look, I'm not lying. Oh, well, that's not the way. There we go. See, people whose job it is to show people a good time. First thing is Steve Jobs for social butterflies. Don't know what that's about. But it's not what I wanted.
Cool. Get relax after.
Man, natives get real crazy with horses.
Hard labor. Can relax after hard labor. And bring communities closer. Followers of Jamin will host great parties and feasts to celebrate great deeds, events, historical events,
Oh yeah, there's another horse race called
other.
the Cowhand horse race.
What?
You want me to explain that one to you?
Sure.
So you race for about a mile, or it can go longer depending on the length. But you race for a mile bareback on a horse with
Okay, that sounds like it sucks.
yeah. So you race for a mile bareback. You stop. You have to saddle your horse as fast as you can, and then you race the rest of the mile, the rest of the race with the saddle. It's about a mile and a mile. But the whole concept is the ability to ride bareback fast, quickly, without falling off, saddling your horse as quickly as you can, and then riding the horse as fast as you can to the finish line. I've seen a variant of this where you have to also stop and pick up a watermelon, but
A watermelon.
yeah, you have to race with a watermelon. Again, the idea is picking up something small and fragile and being able to dismount with it.
I wouldn't call a watermelon fragile, but sure.
Yeah,
I guess if you drop it off a horse, it would break.
yeah.
But any fruit would do that.
I mean, not an apple.
Yeah, it would.
No, it wouldn't.
If you dropped an apple off a horse while you were running,
Dude, a horse is only like you're up pretty far, but it's not like you're dropping it on pavement.
I guess. Sure.
I mean, at worst, it'd probably be mildly bruised. Man, this episode is a lot of Alan talking about horses. God, I don't even know how I got on this tangent, but it needs to stop. All right, I'm back.
It's time to stop.
I'm back. Let's not talk about horses anymore. So now we're on the vagrant gods.
Yep.
Lokoyan?
Lakayan.
Lakayan. Where's the A?
Shut up.
God of Travelers. Man, why does the God of Traveler always have to be trickery?
It's not really anything else.
That doesn't really bode well to like people who meet travelers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, oh, what? He's traveling. I don't know him. He's gonna trick me. He's gonna steal my goat.
Followers. Watchmen. Traveling.
Troops.
Traders. Traveling troops.
No, I meant troops with a U, like a circus. No, OUP. Or auto. See what it says. Yeah, see it there.
That's tropes.
Oh. Okay. I don't know. I've heard the word used before, and I know what.
It's the same spelling.
Is it?
Yeah.
Lies.
Beliefs.
Fake news.
Mobility and the ability to travel freely.
No, yeah, it is troop.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, it's. See, look here.
Sure.
See here. See.
Okay.
But you don't say the E.
You know what?
See, yeah, see, there we go. See, that one's soldiers. There's a difference. Some, you okay there? You got real quiet. You mad?
No, it's okay. I was just reading. Um, Actus. Always locking in. Well, worship him as a way to ensure their safety on long travels or dedicate themselves to protecting roads and ugh.
I imagine that a lot of these sort of people, they would do things along the lines of like setting up like camps and maintaining camps along long roads.
Yeah. Symbol of locking in is often used as a sign of safety. It's often used as a sign of safety um, around uh, around naturally protected campsites or homesteads willing to house travelers. Cawthon, the god of thieves. Thieves.
Fences.
Yeah. Thieves, fences.
I guess merchants. Merchants seems applicable.
Eh.
Shady merchants. I mean, isn't that just
I
another
mean, we
word
have
for
a god of merchants later in.
Oh.
Nice.
Yep. Some nice coffee going there. Man, I've been drinking a lot of things black, like without any sugar recently. Tea
Yeah,
among them.
you get used to it.
Yeah, like tea without sugar is actually pretty decent.
The thing that the reason I do it is because of like it's kind of just like the natural flavor it has. It's actually
Yeah.
quite good.
Yeah, and it really like pushes you to learn how to brew coffee right instead of just drowning
Yeah,
it in creamer.
exactly. And sort of learning what kind of coffee you like.
Yeah,
Uh,
I like
leaves.
bodacious coffee. I haven't had a chance to experiment. I imagine they're not too big on the killing.
Yeah. Um, you do not truly own something if someone else can take it away from you
That's actually really good.
without harming you.
Oh man, I imagine a lot of these people have like little butt stashes.
Ow.
I mean, just based off of your belief phrase. I mean, think about it, Albert. How's someone gonna take it without harming you? Practices. Write this down, Albert. Put shit up your ass. Like, just that's one of the things they have to do.
Put it up. Put it
Gotta
right
keep it
on
safe.
there.
Just put it way, just up, way inside your butt. Just really get it in there.
Let themselves to Cawthon. to ensure the safety and good luck. The symbol of Gotham is often used as a sign. It's often used to designate safe havens and fences.
Lunaire?
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with these because they're kind of just the sun and moon, which is I don't really know what to do about these particularly, so I'm gonna leave them blank for now and move on.
Oh, and remember, anyone that's in chat, you're more than welcome to just kind of chime in for suggestions and whatever. We'll try to respond. So, sun and moon, like, are you gonna associate anything with that, or are they kind of just whatever?
Gonna do this one first.
June Ven.
Oh, hold on.
You skipped one.
I did skip one.
Ooh, Gods of Magic are always fun. Because, like, oftentimes they get tangled up with, like, Gods of Knowledge, because knowledge and magic, but separating them actually is a pretty interesting thing. Because I remember one time I had a system where there was a God of Magic and then a God of Knowledge, and the God of Magic was literally just raw, like a ball of just pure energy that had somehow attained sentience.
Mm-hmm. It
was crazy.
Arcane power is a divine gift. Divine gift that is ultimately but is dangerous and untamed. You know what? It's a natural force, but is dangerous when untamed.
Oh, Dawn said she's hanging out with her sister. So.
Oh, okay. Did she say when she's done?
She said about 2 hours. But
okay, yeah, it should be about when we're done as well.
Yeah, I also kind of wanted to take some time because, like I said, I just came in and I still need to get shit in order. So, probably plan for about 5.
Yep, that's fine.
All right, I'll let her know.
Dedicate themselves to the mastery of magic. Span followers, merchants, leafs.
You can always get a better deal.
Commerce is the engine that drives progress and innovation.
People will dedicate some of their profits to. So essentially, he's just like the tax god.
Yeah. Um.
Huh. That's such a weird concept for a church to be like the merchant god. Because at what point is it not a like government entity?
Yeah. That's a good. Yeah.
Oh, and also put on their uh like tax breaks or something. It's rewarded to some form of good business, and uh, those who receive this
Those who
money.
receive this money use it to construct markets uh, and hire and maintain the people are needed to ensure safety. All right.
Ooh, now that I think about it, you don't really have like a god of fortune, right? Nothing that's
No, I don't.
explicitly fortune. Why don't we like associate that with the moon?
It could. You mean like fortunes as in like luck, or
Yeah.
fortunes as in like fortune telling?
No, I mean luck. I
Could
mean,
be.
I guess both actually. Now that I think about it, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad thing to associate with the moon god. I think fortune telling is kind of a weird thing. I think that it'd be more apt to say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you put it there, diviners. The quality's kind of getting weird.
Yeah. Beliefs.
If anyone's complaining about the quality, it's because Albert's internet's kind of bonky. Plus, we have to pay to get Discord Nitro, so
I mean, it's fine. It's just that Discord Nitro. I don't want to pay for Discord Nitro.
yeah, I don't think anyone wants to pay for Discord Nitro, but
It's weird.
yeah.
The moon is a symbol of luck, both good and bad. Practices.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So real quick, like, do you actually have names for the other planets that are associated with these other gods, or?
Their names are the names of the planet,
Oh,
just like ours are the names of like Greek and Roman gods.
Mars, Jupiter, and other stuff.
Both good and bad. Only in night can the actions of gods be observed.
I'm kind of baffled by the sun, because a lot of different.
I have an idea. I'll
Yeah.
get to it in a bit.
Suns are always weird, because like it varies. Like in Navajo culture, the sun is essentially this like pseudo. I don't know. He's like good and bad.
Yeah.
It's super weird. Like I don't know how to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your idea for the sun? Solaire. I like I usually added an I.
In day, the actions of the gods are obscured.
Mm-hmm.
Days
So he's the creepy uncle that's watching from the window.
As such, Solaire is seen as the personal guardian of, I want to say, humanity.
Mortals? Of the mortal realm.
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds more like high fantasy.
Yeah, is seen as the personal guardian of the mortal realm.
Awesome. Practices. For some reason, I can't help but think of like all those random stuff that I show you. Remember that anti-masturbation cross?
Yes.
Like I'm imagining followers of this, like the extremists, would do stupid stuff like that. I'm watching you.
Actions of mortals are can only be attributed to their own dedication and success.
Oh.
The actions of mortals should only be attributed to themselves, not any other outside force.
So no blaming.
Yep,
No blaming the gods for the actions of mortals.
exactly. That's
That's
sort of
interesting.
thing.
So the followers would be something like judges, not necessarily lawmakers, but
It's interesting.
psychiatrists.
I almost want to say that,
Atheists.
even though, like, it's kind of contradictory, which is why it's in quotes. So that's kind of what I'm going for.
I'm sure like there's like a unique word you're trying to think of, like
Yeah.
it almost feels like it's like anti. It's not that you don't believe in God. It's just you don't believe that gods have sway over mortal decisions, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Ooh, philosophers is a good one to put there.
I like that.
Yeah, because like
'Cause that's sort of what Aristotle did.
yeah,
Maybe not Aristotle, might have been someone else.
like every other philosopher and their mother are that line of thinking that are like, I'm not saying God's not real. I'm just saying that if that God is real, then I don't really, then he doesn't really have that much say over what I do. And it's like, okay, I get your mode of thinking.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And wow, that's it actually.
Woo, we done it.
Woo, we did it.
That's all
Ugh.
that's all the gods. How many was
Yep.
there?
Yeah.
There was a lot.
10, 22,
Oh man,
29.
quality is going all over the place. 29?
Yeah.
Jeez. You want to do a quick recap now that we got done it?
So why did we do this?
Because it's fun and we like to punish ourselves by mistyping things on the internet.
Well,
No.
what I was going for is that when you're making a pantheon like this, it's important to get these base details so that you can extrapolate from that.
Yeah.
Because originally I just had the list, and I found that it wasn't actually that productive in getting people to care
Yeah.
because it's just names and symbols. And while this is what you get in your player's handbook, it's not actually that helpful.
Yeah.
Um, so being able to have these short descriptions gives them a little bit of personality,
Yeah.
gives your players something to latch onto, and also leaves room for further development.
Well, that's how it is in the oh gosh, what players? Fourth edition, I think, did a really good job of that in their player's handbook. I'm not too
Hmm.
sure about fifth edition.
Fifth edition, you just get the list, you just get a
Yeah,
table.
yeah. Fourth edition, I know they had the breakdown, and then I know for a fact 3.5, the core handbook for that, had a really detailed description of the Sword Coast Pantheon.
Hmm.
And I think that was actually where I think a lot of my knowledge of gods in the D&D universe comes from. So
Yeah.
you're definitely right that it really influences how people perceive gods and worlds.
Christ, I'm so tired.
Albert, you're always tired during this stream.
I know.
It's like if we go back like every episode there's always like 3 yawns. All right, so I think we're gonna take a minor break while we do the screen changing stuffs, and
Yep.
we'll and we're back. We're back. So, if you're just joining us, this is the Blanket Terms world building stream where me and my co-host Albert build worlds for fun, I guess. Albert, why do you build worlds?
I don't know. I don't actually know.
Is it fun? I find it fun.
Kinda. What do you want, Cat?
Yeah. So we're working on Vessel. We just finished up Albert's world. That was Vathan, a world setting. I think didn't we try doing a podcast? I mean, yeah, podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. It kind of didn't really work out.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Because we had a lot of scheduling conflicts and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna be working on Vessel for the second half, and Vessel's my world that I work on. That me and Albert do a podcast for. It's actually up on YouTube. Albert, can you spam that link?
Oh no. Ah.
Probably should have prepped you a little bit for that one. But yeah, we do a podcast on this one, and Albert kind of doesn't really know the world too much, so that's why I was kind of like, hey, let's do this, and then eventually that led to us being like, well, why not stream it? So yeah, and I have it all in my brain space, and honestly, things get changed all the time, but I'm actually starting to write it down and work on it a lot. So a quick overview is a majority of the world resides within the walls of the grand city called the Vessel. Guided by the pseudo-deity called the Divine Shard, humanity and other races have thrived in this hellscape that is the surface of Kavalan. But I don't really use Kavalan because there's really no need to, because the world's all this microcosm in this one giant city.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so that's why I don't even call the world, we just call it Vessel. Technology level is super high, like cyberpunk-esque. Arcane is kind of low, and it's really suppressed. Tropes and themes, what I'm trying to enforce is a lot of cyberpunk, future noir, and like a sprinkle of comedy, just because I'm a very comedic person and I enjoy like situational comedy, not like slapstick or anything. And one of the tropes I've been kind of repressing, despite the fact that it's super integral to the world, is religion. I don't know, super weird. Like if you think about it, Albert, in the podcast we don't really talk about the religion of Vessel too much, right?
We do a bit. I
Yeah.
think we do a little.
Yeah, but it's just something I haven't really touched on too much in the podcast. Major factions, yeah. So we got the Crimson Conclave, Blimp Corporation, other stuff, but that's not too important right now because we're working on the history. So last week we worked on just kind of a breakdown. So I haven't got it out here. Actually, probably should do that now. So we got.
Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I have to feed my cat.
Okay. I'll just be here with chat. Say hi. Alright, so we got your start, your end, then we got, actually I should probably move these over. Oh, I say hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. I say hey. Okay, I don't know why this was set up that way. I imagine there's something that's supposed to go here. It's just that. There we go. So we got the founding. I don't know why that's it. First, yeah, it would be the God's War. Yeah. And then we got cat all fed.
Yeah.
Man, that was a really quick feeding.
I mean, I just put food in her bowl.
Yeah, I'm just doing a really quick, kind of just table of contents thing real quick for the history. The Daemon Wars, or the Demon Wars, depending how you want to pronounce it, because there's honestly, I thought it was Daemons for the longest time. What?
I just realized how unhelpful that link was.
Why?
Because I clicked copy paste a few times, but there's no space delineating it, so it's all one big hyperlink.
And then yeah. So we had the founding, which is essentially just the beginning era that is essentially just non-important to the current. Oops, to the current era. So we don't need to worry about that too much.
Ooh.
Yep, and then we have the God's War, which started about year negative 3000. Is it supposed to be negative? Yeah, negative 3000. Yeah, it's supposed to be negative. Yep, year started was negative 3000, and it goes to negative 325. Alright, plus another 0 there. Do 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 do. This makes sense. I promise you. Hold on.
Check some stuff. Check some stuff.
What?
It's nothing. Just check some things. I'm still paying attention.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Alright, I'm all confused now. Alright, so we have Demon Wars go from... Oh. Yeah, right? What went in between here? I think... For... Yeah, that makes sense to me. Alright. Oh, I think I remember what the thing was supposed to be. It was supposed to be tech level or equivalent. Alright, so start off with the founding, which was like a long time ago. No one really knows. It was just too far back to remember. And then the God's War. Not a lot of this was common knowledge. So we got the God's War negative. About, what was it? About 3,500 years ago. Essentially, just a grand unification of all the races and stuff like that underneath like a giant sort of one banner of the Divine Shard. Then they had the First Age. The First Age was a sort of it ruled the church started giving technology like goddamn candy, and started this revolution of everything. And then they built the giant vessel which everyone inhabits. Humans became overlords of the region. much of this history is lost because of numerous information purges. But this was around the time that they had massive like strides in technology. And then there was the Demon Wars, purging of technologically dangerous information, so laser rifles, crazy magic stuff. Roundabout way, the Divine Shard instituted monarchy system, and then this is where the birth of another another entity came into play called the Keepers of Faith. I think we're gonna talk more about that later. Should probably drag one of these in here. Okay. Alright. Yep, and then after the Demon Wars, where information was purged and everything like that, the Reformation happened. And then during the Reformation period, essentially what happened is they reformed from an authoritarian state to a monarchy. And after the monarchy was instated, it worked for a while. And then eventually what happened is they all, it fractured because of the fact that the kings or whatever that had divine favor they lost divine favor, and they lost their magic powers. It's weird. It's super strange. I'm not explaining it right. I don't know how else to explain it. But after they lost the power that was given to them by the Divine Shard, they lost power and they ended up fracturing into multiple different city-states, and I think I explained it a bit differently. You know what? Probably go down and just read it, right? So so during this period, religion was no longer purged from the populace, and the regulation of the government was given over to the kings and their vassals. This right of blood was contingent upon their arcane powers. The more arcane powers, more on arcane powers later. We'll talk about that later. That they used to claim the throne. Over time, the cultural and social divides grew out of hand, and the civil wars, cultural shifts, and the changing face led to a splintering of governance. These city-states became the basis for other modes of thinking, isolated technological advances, so on and so forth. The Keepers of Faith learned how to suppress the Divine Shard and enslave it within its own mind. They no longer answered to it and sought to build the world in their own way. The original God Kings eventually lost their arcane powers, and a new ploy from the Divine Shard was instituted, leading to So now that the monarchy has been disrupted and everyone's thinking different ways, stripping their power away from the God Kings and giving arcane power to others, shattering the governing systems in play. These new arcane users form their own governing systems, and within Vessel they warred. So essentially, the Divine Shard saw that power became too centralized, so they were like, well, everyone else has power. Different people have power. You have power. Go disrupt the system. And I mean, he didn't say that, but that's essentially what happened. So now they were like, oh man, these people that say they have, the right to lead, they don't have the right to lead because other people have these powers now. So essentially just screwed everything over. Eventually the church stepped in to stop the warring and quote-unquote united the factions together under the condition that they no longer kill each other, adhere to mandates from the church, and they give the church ultimate power within Vessel, but the factions self-govern within their own regions of Vessel. So essentially sort of like a uniting sort of thing where everyone has their own right to self-govern, but they have to adhere to certain mandates and overarching rules. So kind of like a treaty type thing of like wartime practices and stuff like that. So now that's kind of leads to how the city is built. And then after that we have the Era of Light, which is the current era. So the city-states were given the right to self-govern so long as they submit to the Church of Light. Those who do not were smited with giant laser mounted on the fucking roof. Yeah, so the city-states self-governed and due to the mandates from the church, that the trend of development of these governments was away from authoritarian towards democracy and capitalism, and the progress of knowledge catapulted once again. And then something happened to the Divine Shard. So around the year 529, the Church of Light was experimenting with and fragmented a portion of the Shard. In the year 532, this is the Surge, the first campaign where the Great Deceiver was released, and all that nonsense happened. 2 years after that was the Uprising, and then the year 541, almost 9 years after the surge, the Vessel podcast. Crazy. A lot of background lore that I think that I probably need to start condensing down to a single paragraph and not 15 minutes of me rambling. But I think that I kind of want to oh gosh, where to even start? Oh, we could do history? What do you think, Albert?
We're still doing religions and faith, right?
Yeah, but like, where do I start? Do you want me to? Should I just like work on condensing all this down into a single fucking paragraph? Or
Maybe. I don't know if that'd be good viewing.
hmm.
Well, you said you wanted to work on the shard a bit more, right? At the beginning of the stream.
Yeah. Okay. So let's work on the shard then.
Yeah.
So boot to do. Let's go to expanded lore. Mm. Actually, yeah. So if we're gonna talk about the expanded about the shard, we should talk about who made the shard. So going back to the before humanity. So before humanity and the other races that even walked the earth, the precursors harnessed the forces of nature, the arcane weave, and the very fabric of reality to suit their needs. Though despite their overwhelming power, they were helpless in the face of a disaster of their own creating. Infighting led to a massive war between themselves that destroyed their society, their planet, and everything in it. The survivors were left with nothing and unable to survive, and unable to save their organic bodies. A fraction of these precursors preserve their consciousness within a digital arc that will later become known as the Divine Shard, because that got changed. Yeah. Other factions, feeling their own demise upon the horizon, look to preserving biological life and set apart creating biomes to preserve other life forms, which is where humans came from. And then, so going more on that. So, should I give a name for the precursors that created the shard?
I think so. I think it'd be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So, got any ideas for them? Just
Precursors. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I could just call something like generic, like Angel or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Angles. There we go. The Angels. Yeah. So the Angels, they were not numerous in number, though they did. Gosh, I don't know how to explain this. It feels like if I explain more about it, it kind of gets the it kind of just takes the mystery away from them.
Yeah, I get what you mean. You can
Yeah.
just say just like an unknown entity or something. Unknown.
I mean, no, because the idea is that they did upload their consciousness. I think I did talk about this somewhere else. Let me just double check.
I think you talked about it a bit last week.
Yeah. So yeah, the first sentient races found themselves within the realms of these biospheres. Humans. Let's see. Yeah. Upon the divine shard, the AI that the precursors had migrated to so many millennia ago. Gosh, I feel like I did I no, I did. This is well, I guess I just have to again. So yeah, the precursors that created the shard did so hoping that it would be their salvation from oblivion. They hope to one day restore their homeworld guess. Recreate society. And what else would you want if you were uploading your consciousness into a shard like this? Like, what would your like goals be? To one day restore their home world. I guess rather than restore, I think
live
heal.
in an undying state and be able to do whatever the fuck I want.
To heal their home world. I mean, you know, long term, not just like short term.
To live in an undying state.
You know, aside from those selfish reasons.
To live in an undying state.
I guess. When they heal their home world, recreate their society, and oh god, I guess just live in an undying state. Okay, so to do so, they created massive terraforming structures to heal their atmosphere. What else did they have to do? And create biospheres to cultivate new / preserve. And I kind of want to leave it intentionally vague as to what these precursors actually were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say they were human. I want to say they were elves. I don't want to say they were whatever. I just kind of want to leave them vague.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows who precursors actually were? They could have been not even still existing nowadays. Cultivate / preserve biological life. Blah blah blah. As well as create infrastructure to support the Ark indefinitely. Well, I guess indefinitely is a weird word to use if you're a digital conscious being. You go, because eventually the Earth, the planet they're on, is gonna lose heat. You know.
I mean, effectively undying, right?
Yeah.
Grand scheme of things.
Yeah, you know, in a cosmological sense. I spelled cosmological really wrong. Yeah, okay, so, and that's the reason why Vessel has that giant spike that goes, like, essentially to the center of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing. They also split their consciousness into They also split the shard itself into 7 different parts.
Okay. Are they all in the same place or just?
Huh?
Because I remember last week you mentioned, right?
You kind of cut out.
I remember last week you said they made multiple shards, right?
Yes.
So and that shard also was broken apart?
No.
So they made 7 different shards then?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Or maybe it was 1 shard and now there's 3, Albert.
Okay.
Or maybe now there's 7. I don't know. Well,
Sure.
I'm trying to leave it intentionally vague because of the podcast. I don't want to like nail anything down just yet. Kind of want to leave some air of mystery. But yeah, essentially they made multiple. I want to say 7 just because that feels like a number that my brain naturally associates with other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could say 4. Yeah, let's go 4. Just because that's a sacred number in Navajo culture. Let's just do that. Okay,
sure.
yeah. Alright, so let me reread this. So the angels, the precursor faction that created the shard, I should probably put another comma there, did so hoping that it would be their salvation from oblivion. They hoped to one day heal their homeworld, recreate their society, and live in an undying state. To do so, they created massive terraforming structures to heal their atmosphere, created biospheres to cultivate and preserve biological life, as well as create infrastructure to support their ark indefinitely. They knew that they needed to spread their consciousness apart and divided their ark into four what is the word I'm looking for here? Just parts?
Parts?
Yeah,
Fragments?
yeah. I think the word fragment sounds a bit more apt. Come on, fingers. Why can you not spell fragment? Divide their ark into 4 fragments. Supported independently, but connected. Ooh, this is a good option. Where do you want to say that the shards are? So
In vessel?
well, there's one in vessel. No, there's one in vessel. But where are the other 3?
The other 3? They could be on different planets.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So one could have been sent out. Yeah, they could have been sent to different planets.
Yeah. So are they all on different planets? I kind of was thinking that there should be another one on vessel.
Yeah, or on the same planet.
Ooh, there's gonna be one in orbit.
Okay. And then the other one, the other 2, they found like on the other 2 they found nearby systems that have planets that could support life and sent it there. I guess it wouldn't even matter, just sent it out.
Yeah. And then let's just say one's like outer solar system, and then there's another one that's in deep space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The main reason why I wanted one near vessel is because it kind of feels like because that vessel, the Coven's their home planet, kind of feels that they want to kind of keep their eggs in one basket. But yeah, they get that they can't. But the one that's in orbit around Coven actually that leads a lot of play with like narrative building just in vessel itself. Because most people assume that there's only one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then they also can communicate with each other, which is also interesting fact to take into account. Are we gonna have essentially Genasi invade vessel? We don't know. It can happen though. We got some deep space shards. Yeah, I think that's kind of it for its origins. So then, I guess we can talk more about. Gosh, it feels like I already talked about everything now. Oh man, you want to prompt me with a couple questions? Cause I'm hitting blanks. Like I said, didn't really.
I can't think of anything.
Oh, I guess I could talk more about.
So in the podcast, you talk a lot about the church.
Yeah.
What does this mean for like the everyday person?
Ooh, okay.
How do they express faith?
That's interesting. Okay, so we talked about the Church of Light. So the Church of Light currently is it should be the. Let me double check. Um, yeah. So the Church of Light took out the Keepers of Faith who were suppressing the Shard. So currently the current big institute is the Church of Light, and they took out the Keeper of Faith who were suppressing the Shard. But essentially, the church operates more like an overarching form of government for Vessel. So oftentimes the line between government and church are really blurred. So
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, people don't openly praise just because of the fact that everything is the church. But those that do, they depending on what faction they belong to within the Church of Light, they worship in other ways. It's not like people actively pray or anything in a lot of senses, but they also uh, they still offer reverence in a lot of ways. So one of the main major things you got to remember is that technology is all over the place in Vessel, and in some ways there's a whole like division of the church that is explicitly for technological advances because that's what the shard does. It hands out technology to help guide them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, some people they kind of thank the divine shard for their toaster, and I imagine that a few of them worship in a more literal sense of like the vessel provided the dome, the vessel protects, and so on and so forth. But those are all sub factions within the Church of Light. So it's kind of like Protestants, right? There's different factions.
Mm-hmm.
They all have the same overarching theme, but every single individual church has its own subculture that worships in a different way. You know what I mean? And I haven't
Mm-hmm.
really thought that 100% all the way through, so I'm kind of convinced that's still open to change. But in general, the Church of Light is essentially just saying like, oh yeah, they're all in one boat, kind of. I don't know how to explain them properly.
Yeah.
So I should probably write
Okay.
that down now that I've explained it a bit more. So currently, the Church of Light is a more government-like entity than a religious one, though they actively support and what's the other word for like pushing onto other people? Promote?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They not actively suppress. How the two P's. Suppress or eradicate? Yeah. Eradicate other forms of faith within reason. So obviously no like cannibalism or anything like that, but they don't stop people from doing things a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this being the case, there are numerous factions within the church that I guess worship and just worship differently. Some factions believe that all technology is sacred because its knowledge was given to mortals by the shard. Others view the dome as the god, and some even shun the concept of what's the word? Yeah, so it kind of varies back and forth, but in general, it's varied within reason so long as no one does anything too stupid. And it varies from era to era, but in general, it varies from some believe that technology is sacred. Some people view the dome itself as God. Some of them, and some even still, were shown the concept of open worship because a lot of the teachings that come from both the church and the vessel from the shard itself teach logic over faith, like reason over faith. So it kind of varies back and forth. And obviously the church outlawed like the concept of religious war because of the fact that during the city-state warring period, a lot of that was used to commit atrocities. So in a lot of ways, the Church of Light, even though they are a church, they don't condone like I guess what's the word? Religious wars? They don't condone crusades, despite the fact that they have their own like military and private policing force. And obviously they root out the more troublesome ideologies and the like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things I want to play with is the fact that even though this is kind of the overarching theme for the Church of Light, there are factions within it that are selfish and their morals are evolving, and it's a breathing entity that is prone to corruption. So even though this is how I generally see it, it's within reason that a faction of the Church of Light would be like calling for reform and doing things under the table, like using the private military force to like do some shady stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that I kind of want to play off is a lot of what Vessel is like it's like cycles of progression and then regression, progression and regression in both society and both in technology and other stuff. So during the Gods War, after the Gods War in the First Age, technology was so advanced they were almost in a space age. But then the Demon Wars happened, and that's just a generalized term, but essentially they like purged technology, they purged information, and there was a lot of nasty stuff happening. And then the monarchy was instituted, and at that point they were essentially beaten back to like the Renaissance age. And then now they're barely getting back up to the nuclear age, and every time there's sort of a cycle of the church gets power, they get so much power, then they become corrupt, then they get overthrown, then they get so much power again, and then they get corrupt. And there's kind of this cycle that happens every now and then that I kind of like in implementing, just because of the fact that I don't know, I guess I like the weird concept of humans don't change, and despite the fact that over time we learn, it's just a constant cycle of progress, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You know what I mean? Just on a large society scale. And I think that's kind of what I was going through with the Church of Light, because back during the city-state warring period here, they took over essentially. See, the current year is 540, right? So yeah, they took over about 60 years ago. Yeah, not 60 years ago, but further than that. Why is my brain farting? Yeah, 80 years ago. And so for 80 years they've been in operation, and they essentially took them from a nuclear age all the way to a sci-fi age. So that kind of has to put in perspective of over that much time, how much changing can a entity go under? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what happened? What? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So the Church of Light. So it kind of varies within them, although they do have, like I said, a policing force. I think I have. So they have the Arcane Hunters. This is a new entity that was created to hunt down and suppress the. Wait, what do I call people that are divinely chosen? I mean, they have magical powers. Suppress the.
I
Oh
forgot
gosh,
what you called it.
I'll just put filler words in there. Suppress the shard touched. No, that kind of sounds weird. Suppresses the hunt down and suppress the. Yeah. So these arcane hunters, they exist to hunt down and suppress the existence of our magic users. Because due to the I guess it would vary different levels of knowledge, but it was originally created by powers within the Church of Light that understood that the shard was attempting to status quo and sought to mitigate such changes to their policies and social status. Yeah, so the Arcane Hunters were created, and if you can recall, the shard influences society by giving power to certain people and guiding certain people to do certain things and telling the church how to govern in a certain way. And over time, that leads to social changes. And one of the ways that the shard does that is by giving certain people our arcane capabilities. And the arcane hunters were created by powers within the Church of Light to disrupt that process, to stop and mitigate the changes that were made by these arcane people. So yeah, they did so by either eliminating or subjugating, I guess is a good word. Subjugating arcane users before they can affect real change. Essentially, just be like the secret police. And then there's also that was another one. Oh gosh. Yeah, so there was the Silver Knights. So they were created long ago as a non-partisan defense force. Yeah, so during the formation as a elite Okay, as an elite defense force. Need an in there. Against outside forces. So, they are among the only people who have access to advanced military technology. So, i.e. mechs. Mechs, force shields. What else would be like dangerous tech?
Any kind of weapons, basically.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. So, yeah. So the Silver Knights essentially just a general defense force that across the board stays okay. I mean, obviously there are outliers, but in general, they're essentially just the safekeepers of dangerous stuff. What else? There was another one. Let me consult my notes. No, I don't think I have any more. Yeah, I'm sure that you can probably think of some too because you're working in the world. Yeah. But even before that, I think it'd be probably worth talking about the Keepers of the Faith. So this faction was originally created during the Demon Wars. Yeah. So what happened is during the First Age, the society grew and technology grew to the point where they had insanely powerful technology and insanely powerful arcane abilities. And then within the 200-year period between -200 and 0, where the Demon War era started, they essentially purged all dangerous information, and they reformed like basically everything. And this was where the calendar starts because of the fact that it was such a regression, and the Keepers of Faith were instituted as like the church, and they essentially like Vaticaned away everything. They're like, yep, you can't have that information. So the Keepers of Faith were a lot more authoritarian than the Church of Light. They were very much iron-fisted people that would purge anything at the slight mention of other stuff. And they became so authoritarian and so insular that eventually led to them thinking that they knew better than the Divine Shard and repressing the Divine Shard's influence in the world. And during the Reformation, they enslaved it within its own mind, and they stopped the shard from being able to contact the outside world. Yeah, and that's what led it to strip away the monarchy's power. Yeah, so the Keepers of Faith, and even though they're technically not supposed to be around, I'm sure there's a couple of factions that are influenced by them. And it's not like it was that long ago either. It was like within living memory of a lot of races.
Cool. Awesome.
Yep,
You want to just sort of call the stream bearish then?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish that I could go on a bit more, but it feels like
Yeah, we're kind of running out of steam.
yeah. What do you want to talk about next week? Now that we've kind of finished up gods, should we start talking about factions?
We kind of did that the first week though.
You did. I don't know what I did an overview.
Yeah, we could go back to that.
Well, what would you want to do?
I don't know. I might do some city stuff.
Ooh, well, mine is one city. I mean, if you want to do city, I
Yeah.
can do the region stuff. I should probably.
Yeah. That would not be bad.
Okay.
Sure, let's do that.
All right, let's go in for the closing stuff first before we.
Okay.
All right. So closing notes. Any good takeaways that you want to mention before we do the shameless plug section?
Mm.
One of the obvious things I think of this one is take time to plan, because we didn't.
Yeah. I think I want to reiterate again that like the stuff we did today for all the religions and stuff is really useful, and it was, I think, overall a really helpful thing to do. But I think it's important to keep in mind that not all your players are going to be super interested or invested, and that's okay.
Yeah. A lot of worlds don't even need a religion, honestly. If you have a good governing structure and you have a good like structure for how it works, religion doesn't even need to play a part in it. But for us, I think what we like to look at when talking about this is the world building stream. It's not about the world playing or witnessing scene. We're looking at it in terms of how thinking about religion influences the world and how society, values or doesn't value or integrates or suppresses or whatever. Just
exactly.
how it influences the world. We.
Oh, it's freaking cloudy today.
Okay, yeah. So. Yep, we use it to world setting. All right. Another thing. Going home can be fun and necessary, but leaves you tired and
take a nap, Alan. You should go take a nap. I'm going to go take a nap.
Oh man, I honestly probably just need to stop drinking coffee. Like I've not been firing on all cylinders for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so with that, we're with Blanket Term. If you're on this channel, you're on the right place. But we can also follow us on Twitter. It's pretty fun there. A lightly edited version of this podcast releases on Tuesdays, right? Wait, or was it Wednesdays?
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yep, it releases on the YouTube on Tuesdays. Vessel, the world that I work on, we have a podcast. It comes out on Wednesdays on the YouTubes as well. We're waiting on an RSS feed still. Oh yeah, Duple Diener. Yeah, we're working remotely. Albert's working on his thing, and he just kind of Discord's in, and I stream everything on my side. We have a podcast that goes up, and you can actually watch that now. Albert, you can spam that link one more time for just the podcast. But we also do other stuff. We do playthroughs. I think Don and I, we recently recorded Doki Doki Literature Club, super fun. Don and Albert recorded what's it called? Cuphead, right? Yeah. Albert, any plugs for you? Any plugs on your end?
Not really. I'm just gonna get the podcast up here. There it is. The other replays are the replays for the past 2 weeks are also on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, a lot of it's more just kind of just bantering back and forth. Writing is not a very exciting experience. Like it's slow, it's long form, and it
Mhm.
just takes a lot of time,
Right.
commitment, and a lot of creative like back and forth.
And we do this every Saturday, and it's one of our scheduled streams.
Yeah.
We also do like a chill stream on Friday, and Alan's usually streams something on Sundays.
No, I moved over to Wednesday because Sunday I
Um,
reserved for my editing day because the podcast
yeah,
needs a
okay.
lot of editing.
Yeah, so Alan usually streams something on Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
So please follow the channel.
Yeah. Oh, quick Alan plug. I try to stream every day on Friday. I mean, every day at 10 Mountain Standard Time. I'm currently binging Stellaris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just yeah, follow, like, tweet, subscribe, share, email, smoke signal, whatever you have to do to get the word out about Blanket Term and this show. We really appreciate your support, and I really hope you enjoyed this. But other than that, I think we're just gonna transition over to the black screen